Let's make your business cook. Independent chefs who want to build and scale their personal and private chef business and call their own shots? Subscribe here for tips, hacks, and tactics to get clients, money, and freedom. So before we begin, like and subscribe below.
The chef sat there. He literally had his face in his hands. And he said, we just can't do this anymore. We can't keep going like this. You know, how is it that we can have such a good year and then get a bill like this at tax time and spend half of the year paying it back for the year that's already been passed? And I have to tell you, I sat there and my face was in my hands too. Because that April 13th, our accountant said, all right, your taxes are done and you need to come up with $23,000. $23,000. And we'd had a really good year the year before. And we thought we were doing well. And suddenly we were back on our heels again. And we were having to spend many months of that next summer paying back what we owed for the prior year. So we didn't even get into October before we said, all right, now we're probably going to be screwed again next year with what's been happening this year. Like, how do we get out of this rat race? And the truth is that I didn't get really smart about what to do with my money until it started being really painful. Like, we started making enough money that then the government wanted a portion of it, and I didn't have a plan for how to do that. Like, I knew how to pay my bills every month, but I didn't know how to set a budget to plan for things on an annual basis, to plan for a company that was growing, and to look forward to changes in revenue and the seasonality of my business. So it was pretty painful. And we got to a point where we just couldn't go on and keep living that expansion and contraction and debt and payback and debt and payback. And I've seen chef after chef, and they've called me and said, how do I get out of this mess? So I want to show you that today. So I want to go over 4 steps, and I'm going to do them very quickly, but I'll tell you this, if you hear nothing else and you go and click off of this after this, I want you to know that until you master your money will master you. You are going to serve somebody, and there are an awful lot of people out there, and many of them are chefs, who are just working for the money, just so they can survive, punishing their bodies, ignoring their families, and special days and any balance they might have in their lives because they're working just for the money to get by and not building anything for their future. Please, chef, if you're not in enough pain now, I don't know what's it going to take for you to get to the point where you say something has to change. But I'm here today to show you what some of that can look like for you. And you don't need to be in a position where you go, oh, I've got so much money, I don't know what to do with it. You could be in a position where you say, oh, I've got so little money, I have to do something. Either way, whichever situation you are in, if you do not learn how to master the money that you have, when more zeros are added to it, it's still going to be a shit show for you. You must master your money or it will master you. And I have 4 steps for you to do that. The first is you've got to learn to live within your means. And that can be hard to do because if you're given a jar of money and you go, all right, here's how much money I've got to spend, then you spend it till the jar is empty. It's the same way we eat with a plate. We go, all right, this is the food on my plate. I'm going to eat it till it's gone. But if you had a smaller jar, if you had a smaller plate, you probably would consume less. You probably would eat less. So you've got to learn to live within your means. And that means sometimes changing the size of the jar, and not all your eggs should be in this basket. With some of the money for an emergency, for a rainy day, for something you're saving up for, needs to be in another jar. Okay, the second thing is you need to craft and use a budget. And I'm not even saying that the budget needs to be accurate, but you need to start one. You probably know that you've got a cell phone bill, you've got a communications, internet, cable, whatever bill, you've got rent, you have some insurance, you got medical. You have an idea of certain bills that you have, but few people have ever truly written it down and made a goal so that every dollar has a plan. And that's what a budget is. It's having an idea of what your expenses are down to the dollar, including what your food budget is and your entertainment budget, and what's the money coming in. And then you have two choices. You can either reduce your expenses or increase your income. And if you're in a hole now and you're in debt, you need to do both. You need to reduce your expenses and increase your income so that that gap will help you get out of that hole. So you've got to craft and use a budget. And when you start a budget, it may not be accurate. And as you go and you learn over time, your budget gets more and more accurate, more and more refined. And then you include things that you go, oh, wow. And then realize once a year I need tires. Twice a year I go to the dentist. I should include those things too. The first go of your budget, you may not have that level of distinction in your budget, but get started today, chef. Okay, number 2, so that you can master your money instead of it mastering you, you need to eliminate or reduce leakage. Leakage is the money that's going out that you're not paying attention to. Again, you've got to pay attention to your money because everyone else that's paying attention to your money is trying to take it from you. You're the only one paying attention to your money, trying to keep it. And I'm telling you right now, you're paying too much for those magazine subscriptions you don't really need, or for your cell phone bill because they've got a special out for new customers that you should get because you've been loyal to them for many years, but you haven't called them. You're paying too much for your auto insurance because you haven't shopped it around. You just let it renew. Twice a year, I go through my bills. And in fact, every time I'm on the phone call with a provider, I say, would you take a moment and review my bill with me? Do you have any specials right now that I can make use of? Do you have any way that I can get more services for the dollar I'm paying or the same services for less? And nearly every time, there's some sort of adjustment. I am constantly monitoring leakage with our business. Right now, over on the other side of the room here is Ashley, and she's running Hey Chef, and she's working in the business. I'm working on the business, and it does take time in both areas. I know if you're a chef, you go, oh my God, I'm working 80 hours a week. I don't have time to manage that sort of stuff. You're so busy working in your life, you're not working on your life and looking at the bigger picture. And there's a person 20, 30 years, maybe even 10 years from now, who you're going to have to answer to. And they answer by the same name that you have. And some of these people are going to say to you, hey, you know that person 30 years ago named you? I like you. You took care of us. Thank you. And there are other people that are going to go, wow, you missed the boat, man. You did not take care of future me. There is a future you out there right now that needs you to be working on your life, on your future, on your finances, not just in them, not just earning them. So you've got to eliminate or reduce leakage. That's the third thing. And the fourth thing, whether you're in business or not, you have to master cash flow. You must master cash flow. That's number 4. And so again, I've mastered cash flow with this concept of jars. I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And where I learned about this is no secret. I'm not the genius here. I put on my learning hat and go, all right, just show me, man. What do I need to do? This has got to change. We could not do another year where our accountant said, all right, give us $23,000 so you can pay your tax bill and then, move on through your summer. I didn't want the roller coaster anymore. If you're done with the roller coaster, follow these 4 things. Live within your means, craft and use a budget, eliminate and reduce leakage, and then master cash flow. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how we did it. Now, I got what we use for our business from a book called Profit First. And you don't have to read it if you don't want. You can ask me and I'll share with you a video that gives you everything that I learned in this book without you having to read through all the numbers and get dizzy. It was not the easiest read for me. And I've had to read it a couple of times, but I've taught it to many chef businesses and it transformed our business. When we put it into place, it transformed our business. But what I didn't realize is that what it teaches me, we've been doing for years with our kids. So what I want to show you is this toolbox, and I think you can see it. Let me just go back to my camera view. Yeah, I think put it up here so you can see. This toolbox we gave as a present to our kids on their birthday. When they reached a certain age and they wanted to handle money and they wanted money to buy things, we gave them a red toolbox, and in it, there are jars. Now, we gave our kids $5 a week for allowance. And if you're 3 or 4 years old, that's a boatload of money, right? Super exciting. But we gave it to them in a certain way. Whenever we give, and we give $5 a week, and we give them $5 a week, and we gave it to them in $1 bills. And when we gave them the money, we got out their jars and we set them up. And before they could read, we literally put pictures on the jars so that they would know what it was for. And so here's one. The pictures were, this is your spending money. This is spending money for your pocket, is what it says. And when they were really young and they had trouble counting to high numbers, we actually gave them a piece of paper that was a bar graph so they could see which jar had more money in it. And then they learned how to count and see the volume of their money. Oh, look, there's one in here. Awesome. Good. All right. So we gave them, this is my daughter's sheet. And these were the 5 areas of her money. So when she got $5, she put $1 in to save up for her first home and car. So we started having conversations with our children early about money. She put $1 away. She put $1 away for future needs and wants. So this little airplane picture in a suitcase. She wanted to go to Disneyland. And then we have, this is for my son. I put this picture of a broken vase, and it was responsibilities and others. On the other side of this jar, there's the words responsibilities and others, or tithing, right? I'll tell you what this is for. And then in the 4th jar, it was spending money, and just had a fist full of money, right? And then the last jar was my college and education. And so when they would get their $5, I would hand them the money and we would split $1 into each of the jars. And if they wanted to buy something, they had spending money. And this jar was typically empty because they would use the money that was in there. This is the difference between putting all your money in your checking account and then wondering every month why you have more month left than you have money, because you got it all in one jar. But we were teaching our kids to put it in different jars, and this is the jar that you could spend from. Well, what's great is when Christmas came and they needed to buy Christmas presents for people, and that's an event that happens once a year, right? They could go and buy presents for people with their own money they had saved up because they took it from this jar called responsibilities and others. So if they were tithing, if they were buying Christmas presents, even if they went to birthday parties, and believe me, I didn't buy birthday presents for my kids to go to other people's birthday parties because you have the money to do it, son, daughter. And if they didn't really want to go to the birthday party, then they didn't go because they would have to choose what events were most important for them. And it isn't worth going to every party if you don't really like the kid anyway, if you've got to buy a present every time. So they were responsible to others and giving gifts to others and buying presents from this money that they put aside. So it isn't so much that I was giving my kids money so that they could spend it as I was saying, having a kid costs money, so let's teach them how to manage the money I'd normally be putting aside for them anyway, right? So I would give them the money, they would put it aside. Now this was for future needs and wants, and they could see it grow. There's a picture of a motorcycle on one, and an airplane, and a suitcase on the other. And what I did, because this knitted case took 6 jars, is that I had this extra jar just to fill it up so it would take enough room. And in this jar, I would have them write down every time they said they want something. Oh, can I get this book, Mom? Oh, can I buy this ping pong thing? Oh, Mom, can I get a rabbit? Oh, Mom, I want a puppy. Yes, I'll take care of the puppy. Oh, but I need these Legos set. Whatever it was, write it down, put it in here. And once a week, and then I'd make them wait. You have to put it in the jar first. It has to live in the jar. Your want has to live in the jar. And then once a week, they get their $5, they'd spread it into the 5, and I'd have them look at the little pieces of paper in here. And they'd go, oh yeah, you don't really want that rabbit anymore. Oh, I'm glad I didn't buy that switchblade knife at the fair. Oh, I don't need this, I don't need that. And it put off for one more day their impulsive spending. So this is just a want jar with pieces of paper with words in it. Yeah, I want to go to Disneyland. Sure, I'd love to go to Italy. Yes, I'd love to go see my parents, et cetera, et cetera. And I get to prioritize my wants by looking at them, keeping them in a jar, instead of trying to manage everything from one container. Now, it's up to my kids to see how they manage their life, but I gave them a really good foundation by showing them how to break their money up into other jars. And it turns out that this method that we were using, by the way, my daughter's trying to cash in now for the car and for college. And there's, thousands of dollars saved up there. And she'll be using it when she goes to school next fall. And so she decided, because she knows exactly how much money we owe her, that we got to cash out on. But it turns out that Profit First does the very same thing for business. So if you can catch that concept, that this is not the best way for you to manage your business. Put all the money in, and then just when all the money's gone, then you panic and take out more debt. In fact, you have different jars for different activities, and the same for your life. At the very least, you ought to have two separate jars. Now, I'm just going to use, I'll grab a blank one so you can see. In our life, in our business life, we have business accounts, right? Which just uses one jar. And then we have our personal account. So we don't take money from the business except that which gives us a paycheck, right? We take a paycheck from the business, put it into our life, and then we use that to pay for our expenses. And we have other little jars in our life for our savings accounts, for our retirement, right? For our emergency fund, for saving for our fun, that sort of thing. But we don't commingle our funds. And that's a mistake so many businesses make. As chefs, when they're going into business, they have one account and the business money comes in, and then they're wondering how come all the money's gone. It's because you need multiple jars. Wish I had multiple jars here, right? And once you have a side of your business where you're no longer commingling your funds and you begin to manage and master cash flow, you'll have different jars. Now, the jars that we have, interestingly enough, it's the same sort of thing. I'm like, I did that for my kids. And it was years before I realized I need to do that for my business. Yeah, we have a wants list. And then for our business, what we have is, let's see if I can play this out. In Profit First, what they teach is that you have one account where all the money comes in. So our MasterCard and Visa money comes into one account. All of our batch deposits, our advance deposits and our final pays on all of our gigs, everything comes in to one account. From that one account, then we distribute the money the same way I did with my little kids into their jars. And we have different accounts. So the first jar that I distribute money into is the jar that I'm going to pay for customer groceries from and that I'm going to pay payroll from. So I've got an office manager, Ashley. I've got a number of chefs that work underneath us. I've got dozens of servers that work underneath us. And I couldn't make an event happen if I didn't put that money aside to pay them. Okay, you know, I don't cook and I don't go out to those jobs. I staff these jobs. So I put a certain percentage of all the money that comes into the main jar and I divide it into, and I put it in a jar. It's called materials and subs. It's like a construction worker saying, all right, I can't build these homes, a general contractor. I can't build these homes unless I have money for boards and nails and the subcontractor who's going to pour the cement, right? And the subcontractor who's going to put up the drywall. So I have one account that's for others. I don't end up touching it. It's money that I know every check is going to clear at every payroll because I'm covering all the groceries of my clients and I'm covering all of the employees that work for us. That's one jar. It's a separate bank account. This is what Profit First teaches, and it changed my life. It changed our business. It changed the way I approach finances. It changed the way I can sleep soundly at night. Okay. The next jar is a jar for our family. In Profit First, the next jar is a jar for the owner. It's called Owner's Pay. And that Owner's Pay jar puts something in. So imagine here's the business, and every time there's money that goes in here for me, right? That's my paycheck. But I don't take all of it, and I certainly don't try and live my life based on what's in here and make sound decisions about how much I can spend on a new computer or whether or not we can, take the team out for lunch or something like that. I have to see what's in each of the jars and what amounts do I have to spend. And so the way that I make sure I get paid is to pay myself a small amount into my jar. Okay. Then I have a jar called Profit. And that's the idea that every business, if it's only paying you your wage, you only own a job. You don't own a business. So please don't fool yourself, chef. And I'm not trying to put you down, but there are many years that you'll be working independently where you don't own a business. You own a job until you can get to the point that you're paying yourself a wage and have money left over to put money aside so that you can build a business. You own a job. So there is a jar called a profit jar. And that profit jar holds funds going into it so that you can give out bonuses to staff, for instance, so that in our case, we have a charity partner, and every quarter we share a portion of those profits with our charity partnership. And those profits can be used for other things too. Imagine this. This is huge. Imagine gathering enough money in that profit jar that eventually you get to buy the building that your commercial kitchen is in. Now you own a business. Now you own a business that is creating income generating assets. Now you own a business that's making money when you're not. That's truly a business, not just a job. So Profit First really changed everything. Thank you, Mike Michalowicz, the author of that book, and many others, for teaching me that instead of living this way with my business, which always ran me to empty and then into debt every April to pay off my tax bill. Oh, thank you, Mike Michalowicz. Now, you might guess, since I just mentioned taxes, there is a jar called taxes. And there's a certain percentage of all the money that comes in. When I divide it out amongst all my little jars, there is a jar for taxes. And not just taxes, but the cost of sales tax and the bill I get from my accountant and all the other things. So I don't even have to blink when my accountant's bill comes due, when my tax bill comes due, when my LLC bill comes due, when my quarterly taxes come due, and when my sales taxes are due every month. I don't have to touch it now. It used to be so stressful. Like, I'm telling you, if you start making money and you haven't learned yet how to master your money, it's a bitch to start making money, because it will create more problems for you than you ever believed were possible. If you think the solution is to make more money and you don't know how to manage that stuff yet, I gotta tell you, start within your own house and figure out how to live with a budget and learn how to separate your expenses instead of living out of one jar, so that you got some breathing room in your life. Because you need to have that discipline before you start making money and get profitable in your chef business. So there are 5 jars in the Profit First system. There's the materials and subs, that's paying for groceries, food, and people. There's the owner's pay, there's Profit First, there's taxes, and then the last one. And this is where everyone goes wrong, and it's opposite. You know, we use this jar when we live with, I've got a business account, so I've got a business, all the money goes in here, and I spend, and then there's nothing in it. That's because you were using this money for your operating expenses, and you forgot to pay yourself, and you forgot to put money aside for groceries that you have to pay off your credit card because you bought them for your client, and you forgot to put money aside for your taxes, and you forgot some of these other things. You just said, oh yeah, I've got this much money, let me use it. It's operating expenses. And what we do differently, Profit First, is with all of these jars, you put a small amount into each one, and then the last jar that you have is called your operating expense. And it's the one that's got your fist and the money on it. And you're like, yeah, this is the money I have to spend. So this month, can I take my team out to lunch? Can I get this new computer that I need? Can I sign up for a higher level of Zoom or or Active Campaign or MailChimp or whatever. I can make decisions based on how full this jar is, not based on this jar. And by doing that, keeping everything in these different categories, and they're truly different accounts, I don't end up running this dry. I do end up with one of these jars going down to zero every month because there's operating expenses, right? And I'm tight within my budget. That's the money that I've got put aside for my operating expenses. But even though I'm spending this every month, I'm still putting money aside for taxes. I'm still putting money aside to pay staff so their checks cash. I'm still putting money aside for my future and my profit jar. I'm still putting money aside to pay myself. And then we can pay our rent. We can pay our cable bill. We can pay our phone bill. So we do that by using these different jars. We don't live this way because everybody always empties the jar. They see that it's full and you go, yeah, new big screen TV. The way I master my money and my cash flow so the money doesn't master me, I use the Profit First model. This is a basic introduction to Profit First. I coach chefs if they'd like more information, if you'd like to customize the percentages and the sizes of your jars and know how to do all the setup and manage the cash flow of your operation, especially if you're making money and you're on this roller coaster, you need to be looking at what this can do to transform your business. I hope this has helped. Since 1997, we've been running our own private chef staffing company. I don't believe that I put this into place until, 6 or 7 years ago. We lived on a roller coaster for years. But this came out in 2014, right? So yeah, 6 or 7 years ago, when I finally learned how to live not with one jar that would always run empty, but with containers of expenses so that I could easily make decisions about my business. If you'd like help with this, please let me know. I've been coaching chefs for a long time so that they can call their own shots, do what they love, and finally get paid what they're worth, not just today, but for the future you. It's going to thank you for the steps you're taking today. I know they're hard. It takes discipline, and you're going to be around other people that are going to want to do and have other things that you will put aside because you're making tough decisions to look out for your future. And not all people will do it. So not all chefs will do it. But we are in a situation right now where you have at your disposal people who can help you and show you the path. You have the strength and the ability, right? Nobody's too dumb to start their own chef business or to start a Profit First system. There are some people, however, who are too smart to be able to take advice. They don't want to listen and they don't want to learn. And so we're just not a match to be working together. I'm here to help chefs. I'm passionate about helping you elevate your life and your business through your work by doing it the right way. So happy to show you the things that have been successful for us. Above all else, chef, I want you to work safe.